You know, the biggest fortunes in history, they're not made when the markets are calm and predictable. They're forged in chaos. That's the powerful core idea behind a classic book on contrarian investing. Welcome to Book Talk, Finance, where we break down the must-read books for your journey to financial independence. Today, we are diving deep into blood in the streets.
Okay, I want you to picture this. The year is 1815. You're in London, and the city is in a full-blown panic. Everyone is waiting for news from the Battle of Waterloo, and they're all expecting Napoleon to win. So what are they doing? They are selling everything they own in a desperate frenzy. But one man, Nathan Rothschild, he does the exact opposite. He's buying. And this one quote, well, it captures the entire philosophy that made him a financial legend.
So, our guides for today are the authors, James Dale Davidson and Sir William Rees-Mogg. And their book, it's a challenge to all of us. It dares us to look past the daily noise of the market and to understand the huge, hidden forces that are really moving the world. And of course, your money.
So how did Rothschild actually pull it off? This part is brilliant. He had his own network, and he was the first person in London to find out that Wellington had actually won the battle. But he knew everyone was watching him. So did he start buying? Nope. He started selling. The market saw this and went into a complete meltdown, thinking he knew they'd lost. Only then, when prices had hit rock bottom, did his secret agents sweep in and buy up everything for pennies on the dollar. Absolutely genius.
He made £1 million. I mean, let that sink in. In 1815, that was an absolutely staggering amount of money. And it really hammers home the core idea of this book. Being a contrarian isn't just about buying when things look bad. It's about understanding the deep underlying structure of a crisis, while everyone else is just, well, panicking.
All right, so let's fast forward to today. Think about how most of us approach investing. We tend to follow the herd, right? We focus on all the information that feels safe, predictable, and right in front of our faces. We get obsessed with these little details, don't we? The latest news, the quarterly earnings reports, what the Fed is going to do with interest rates. But the book argues that focusing only on these things is like meticulously checking the faucets and the drains in your house while completely ignoring the fact that your house is built on a massive earthquake fault line.
So if the daily news is just the plumbing, what in the world is the fault line? Well, the authors have a name for it, and honestly, this is the entire game-changing idea of the book. They call it mega politics.
Now, mega politics is not about who wins the next election. It's not about Democrats or Republicans. It is way, way bigger than that. Think of it like the deep tectonic plates of power that are constantly shifting underneath our society. These are the forces that are so big they're pretty much beyond any one person's control, and they rewrite the rules for everybody.
And that house analogy, it just makes this concept crystal clear. Typical financial analysis? That's you worrying about the furnace and the shingles on the roof. Megapolitical analysis, that's discovering you're living on the San Andreas Fault. See the difference? One is about day-to-day maintenance, the other is about long-term survival.
So what is it that causes these massive, world-changing shifts? According to the authors, it all comes down to one thing: technology. Specifically, technology that changes the balance of power. We're talking about things like the invention of the longbow, the firearm, the aircraft carrier, and yeah, the microchip. Every single one of those things completely changed who had power and who didn't, literally redrawing the map of the world.
All right, let's put this into practice. The book uses this mega-political lens to look back at history, and it shows how the world we live in today was shaped by these massive, deep forces.
For about 100 years, the British Navy controlled the seas and enforced a global order called Pax Britannica, the British peace. But then technology shifted, new powers rose, and that whole system just collapsed into 30 years of pure chaos, 2 world wars, and the Great Depression. And out of all that rubble, a new order emerged, Pax America. So the book's really urgent question is, what happens when that order starts to break down?
And this is where the theory starts to feel, well, a little uncomfortably close to home. The book lists the classic symptoms of a global power in decline, and the parallels to today are just startling. Soaring debt, a military stretched thin all over the world, rising competitors, and maybe the most dangerous one of all, a widespread belief that your dominance is secure and can't be challenged. Yeah, the authors do not mince words here. They basically argue that the instability we're seeing from this massive, ongoing megapolitical shift, it poses a real and present danger to the entire financial system we've all come to depend on.
Okay, so we've been talking about massive historical forces, empires rising and falling, but how does any of this actually help you build wealth and get to financial independence? Well, it all comes back to your mindset.
See, being a true contrarian, it's not just about blindly betting against what everyone else is doing. It's about knowing why the crowd is panicking in the first place. They are all freaking out about the broken pipes, the scary headlines, the bad earnings reports, but you've done the work to understand the earthquake that's causing all of it. And that, my friends, is a massive advantage.
So the book lays out this really useful four-part framework. Number one, you have to understand megapolitics. Number two, you've got to master how markets actually work. Number three, you need to learn how to read crowd psychology. And finally, and this is by far the hardest part, you have to decipher yourself, your own biases, your own emotions, your own weaknesses.
So you might be thinking, well, why should I read the whole book if you're explaining it now? Here's why. This book is not about stock picks. It's what the authors call a reality test for your entire philosophy on investing. It forces you to build a tough, durable framework for thinking. And that is way more valuable than any hot tip.
So where does all this leave us? The ultimate goal of this book is to give you a completely new way of seeing the world, to make you question the fundamental assumptions that guide your entire financial life.
And using this mega political lens, the book makes some pretty bold, even startling predictions for our era. We're talking about everything from an inevitable global debt collapse to the way the microchip could actually make the world more dangerous. These aren't just market predictions, they're potential shifts in the very foundation of our society.
This leaves us with a really big, critical question to ask ourselves. I mean, think about all the financial news you consumed just this past week. If these authors are right, if these deep, slow-moving historical cycles are what truly matter, then how much of that news was just noise, just a distraction from what's really going on?
And finally, the book turns the camera right back around on us. We've talked about analyzing the world, but the toughest part is analyzing ourselves. So, what unchallenged beliefs, what bits of conventional wisdom, what personal biases might be clouding your judgment and keeping you from seeing the fault lines that are right under your feet?
Look, Blood in the Streets is a challenging read for sure, but it is an absolutely essential one. It doesn't give you simple answers. It gives you a powerful mental model for navigating a really uncertain future. If you're serious about building a real framework for financial independence, make sure you subscribe for more deep dives into the books that actually matter. Thanks for joining me today.